All right, shall we get going, everybody? I think it's only fair to do so rather than picking on individuals who, from no fault of their own, have shown me aspects of their personal lives. All right, here we go then. I thought we might start with this challenge to you all. Do I, i.e. you, do you need to change? So I'm just going to leave you to consider that for a couple of moments. Because you've all passed the first test of curiosity in the topic. But the big question I've got is, do any of us need to change? So hands up those who think yes. You can use your virtual hand. We should do some kind of a poll in future to make this a bit easier. Seeing lots of you putting your hands up. Okay, I'm thinking that's about 14 and 15. Okay, that's grand. Thank you very much. And hands up those of you who think no. Good. I'm so pleased we don't seem to have any no's going up, because I think this is the most important thing to bear in mind. I think we all better had change. I'm a work in progress, we need to say to ourselves, and we need to say that I'm an infinite developer. That way, every day is a school day, and we can all learn something interesting. Even my 94-year-old mother, who last week figured out the mute function finally on FaceTime. How about that, everybody? I just thought I'd share that with you. I thought we might start by just asking each of you just to jot down what you consider to be your big change challenges right now in respect of health and social care and your role in it. So I'm just going to give you kind of a minute to consider what you consider to be your big change challenges in health and social care. This is just so that we've got some kind of foundation to work on, by the way. So this could be in your leadership role, it could be in your organization, it could be in health or social care as a whole. But what do you think is your big challenges that are confronting you at present? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, you've had just about a minute. I'll give you another 15 seconds. Oh, thank you, Julie. You've rather preempted me. I was going to say you're very welcome to pop anything that you might have put down there in chat, or you may be willing to unmute, put your hand up, and I will come to you if you'd like to shout something out, okay? You're very welcome. Julia says organizational culture and financial resources. Do you mean, Julia, the culture around how people's mindset is adjusted to cater for the new reality of financial resource?
I kind of mean resistance to change. So trying to onboard people who might be not willing to change, resistant to change, think their way might be the best. Lovely. And your way isn't. And then the financial resources bit is just wanting to make change and not having the money to do it.
Got you. That's very helpful. Thank you very much indeed. We've got Paula talks of fear of change. Angela talks about supporting my team to understand the need to change. So there's lots of cultural stuff here going on. I suspect there may be some. Oh, okay. Kieran says conflict resolution. That's interesting. Before it escalates to more formal. Isn't that interesting? That's one of these kind of constants that we seem to have got into a situation across health and social care where as soon as somebody has a crossed word, we sort of escalate it very rapidly into rather formal processes instead of just having a conversation. That's good. Okay, well, look, I think that's interesting because I want you to bear that, all of those things that you've written, I think bear those in mind now as we take a gallop through the world of care management. I'm grateful to Emily for putting lack of budget, trying to understand the role I was being pulled in every direction, and competition for management roles. Goodness me. Okay, so just bear all of that in mind. I want to start by trying to put in context the challenge that any of us have that are interested in creating a change environment. So what I want you to do is look at this. I hope you can all see this now. And I'd like you all to have a go. You can put it in the chat or you can just unmute and shout out. I'd like you to put in percentages against each of those three entities. So in your organization or your team or the average team in the United Kingdom, according to Gallup, who created this, no Googling, by the way, while we do this, what percentage of the average team, workforce, organization does Gallup say is fully engaged with whatever it is the aims and objectives of the organization are? What percentage are not engaged? And what percentage do you think are actively disengaged? So have a bash at that. If anybody wants to give that some consideration and shout out, you can do that in a moment. So Natalie's gone for fully 20, 20, 60. Goodness me, that's not very optimistic, Angela. Tom says 30, 50, 20. That's good. Anybody else want to have a bash? Anybody want to unmute and shout out? Bowler says 30, 50, 20. Good try. Good, thank you, Christina. All right, here, according to Gallup, you're all kind of in and around the sort of 30, 40, 50 kind of mark, 20, 60, 20. Sarah, all right, here's the official results. This is according to the social and organizational pollsters Gallup. They say that the average UK organization or team engaged 19%. 19% of your average people in your average team or organization would be regarded or measured as fully engaged with whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Okay, not engaged, drum roll please, is 60%. Okay, Sarah, I'm giving you the overall accolade of victory in this one. Some of the rest of you can't actually add up properly anyway to 100. I'm not pointing any fingers there, but Julie, you might want to get hold of a calculator fairly rapidly. And therefore, some of you, the mathematicians, you'll have already worked out actively disengaged 21%. Why would anybody regard this as an important place in which we start a discussion about change management? And by the way, this is one of those interactive moments. Anybody speak? Why would we start here if we're talking about change management?
Because that identifies the scale of the problem.
To a degree. I would
which areas to focus on.
Now we're talking. Thank you, Julie. You've redeemed yourself from your earlier mathematical
So I'm with my
error.
earlier maths. I was typing too quickly.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. I think the big problem that we all have is that we know who our engaged people are. I bet in your teams that you lead, I bet you know very clearly who your go-to, fully engaged, positive, energetic, go at it kind of people are. And they're your go-to people typically for any kind of a change project. What we typically do is we spend a huge amount of our time and effort messing around trying to persuade the actively disengaged people, the underminers, the difficult lot. We try to spend ages of time trying to get them into at least the not engaged category. May I suggest to you, I'm not sure that's a terribly helpful use of our time. Okay, I'm going to use Simon Sinek's bell curve that he's very fond of using to show you what I mean. So this is Simon's approach to it. He says in the average team, about 2.5% of us are what you would call innovators. These are people who the first sign of an opportunity to get involved in an innovation or change project will say, yes, I'm in. They just love it. Yeah. He says then you've then got about 13.5% of your average team who he would regard as early adopters. So they're not necessarily going to go bang on first, But as soon as one person has gone first, they're coming in really quickly after them, and they will embrace it and they'll be confident. Can you see, if you do the rest of the sums adding up, how similar that is to Gallup's engaged, not engaged, and actively disengaged? It's just a similar kind of a bell curve. So what? So what's the mistake that I suspect most of you and or your organizations typically make when we're trying to introduce change? This is one of these big moments. I'm hoping somebody has grasped it here and instantly comes forward. So Maureen says, need to get more than 20% on board. So here's the thing, Maureen. Straight away, I think the mistake that most organizations make and teams make, and this is borne out by the stats, is we try to impose change on the whole of the team or organization in one go. Whereas if you look at the curve, you know that your early majority and late majority, who will eventually come on board, they're kind of thinking, hang on, I've been good at something for maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Why am I going to respond to a perfectly rational explanation of change need when actually I feel rather threatened by it? You get the idea? They're going to fight you. So why would we ordinarily go with this strategy that so many teams and organizations adopt of saying we're going to change this and it's going to start tomorrow and everybody needs to get on board with it? And here's the rational reasons why. Do you get the idea? If you look at the curve, that is doomed to failure, because you're going to have, I reckon, between 80 and 85% of the organization who will fight you tooth and nail until they feel that you've properly embraced their own circumstances. Julie, you're right. This translates as simply find your champions, go with where the energy is, Claire says, and the others hopefully will catch up. You just need to get a few started. I think we go all out. We work really hard in the first instance at persuading what Simon Sinek is about a 16%, as Gallup would say is about a 19%. It's that group that we go to first to get the ball rolling, and then we work with the others as time goes along. Can I show you something that I think kind of sums this up rather nicely? So who do you think all of these rather fantastic people may be? I'm just seeing how many of you are now actually reading the text on the slide. This is 1923. This is at the Chief Mechanical Engineers Railway Officers in Swindon, and they are comptometer staff. Is anybody old enough to remember comptometers? Can I just say, and this is a terrible admission to make, I am, in my first job I ever had at Riker 3M Health in Loughborough, I had a comptometer operator in our office. Okay, so comptometers predate one of these. Okay, it was all a very mechanical process of pressing very rapidly lots and lots of buttons that would actually do exactly the same job as this takes seconds to do. Do you get the idea? Can you imagine what it was like turning to all of those fabulous people, most of whom have been trained since they left school in how to use a comptometer, because it was a very responsible position. Can you imagine what it would have been like when it was your turn to stand up in front of them all, if you were the leader, and say, ladies, and by the way, look, they're almost exclusively ladies, we're going to do away with the comptometers and we're going to bring in calculators. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the frenzy, the outcries of anguish and sheer panic from probably 80 to 85% of them? Whereas 15% would have said, great, tell me more. How does that work? I'd love to find out. Get the idea? I just thought that was interesting. What about this? Here you go. You'll love this. More modern, perhaps. What do you think this is showing? This is Chepstow railway station, by the way, taken just the other day. Anybody got any idea? You're not terribly interactive this morning. Can you all see that okay?
It's a ticket office, John.
It's a ticket office that is
Closed.
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 Thank you very much, everybody. Why is the ticket office closed?
Because we can do it online.
Because
Or through an
Network
app.
Rail have decreed that Chepstow railway station no longer needs a ticket office, because from now on everybody has to buy their ticket online. Can you imagine the opprobrium that the good people of Chepstow put up as soon as that little nugget was announced? Okay, so in other words, this business I started with, change is all around us. Absolutely, it's all around us. It's been going on for centuries. And new tech is all very well, but you've still got that 15 to 20% of early adopters who'll get it and go for it, whereas 80 to 85% of the population are going to find all sorts of reasons why that is a disaster. Your job is to figure out how you persuade the first lot to embrace it, rather than going after everybody in one go, which I think is the mistake that Network Rail have made, by the way. All right, let's have a look at some models that we might choose to use if we're serious about a change management process. So let's have a look at this first of all. This is the PBP model. If any of you have been unfortunate enough for me to visit to deliver one of my workshops on high performance leadership, you may have seen this before. But there we are. I'm back to the subject of railways, 3 levers. I think there's lots of models out there for change management, but actually it might be an idea to boil it all down to 3 key elements that we need to get right, need to get nailed in order for us to lead change effectively and sustainably. So would anybody like to speculate what the first P, the first lever to pull, might mean? Come on, don't all go silent now.
People?
Thank you for having a go,
Processes?
Angela. Not quite. Oh, you're having 2 goes there. Emily says power, problem, preparation. I tell you what, it's Let me try again. If the people do this, what's in it for them? If they embrace the change and have a go at it, what's in it for them?
Pride.
Prize.
Prize?
Prize. God, blimey, that was hard work. It's the prize. In other words, we've got to make clear to the people that we're asking to change, if we do this and we do it with a whole heart and full energy, this is the prize that either we or the people that we serve will receive in exchange. Do you get the idea? And too many organizations or teams or change leaders, they try to effect change without being clear with the people who are affected what the prize is that they're going to receive. In other words, what's the benefit that will emerge through the change that we're asking you to create? And until we get that right, not, by the way, from the perspective of the person who's trying to persuade people to change, but from the perspective of the people who we are asking to change, that prize has got to be perceived as worthy, exciting and valuable enough to attract their attention and endeavour. Get the idea? By the way, would anybody like to speculate? What do you think, in my experience, the most effective prizes are?
Money, pay rises.
Money, pay rise. Okay, interesting. I mean, it has an effect. Positive feedback. Kieran, I'm good. So, is it Lynn or Kieran that I should call you? Forgive me, it's difficult to tell when names are the wrong way around. It's Kieran. Forgive me. Yeah. Thank you, Kieran. So, yeah, positive feedback. I'm a big advocate for that, as you might know. It's not quite what I'm looking for in this case. Time, less work, time-saving promotion. We're getting close now, whoever said job satisfaction. typically, in my experience, if you can explain to people how the change is going to benefit them in terms of how you're going to make them feel, that's typically a really attractive one. Okay, Jade's put belief. Don't disagree with that, but it's this business of how we're going to make people feel, either the people who receive our services or ourselves who are going to do this change. If that feeling is explained, demonstrated effectively enough, people get into that real quick. Okay, but again, it'll be those early adopters and innovators who were the first to pursue those benefits. All right, let's suggest that we've managed to get people excited because we've managed to persuade people that there's this fabulous prize that they're all super interested in. What do you think the B might stand for? Buy-in. Oh, Kieran, it's so close, but it's not quite a chocolate bar. Anybody else want to have a go?
Benefits.
Good try. We've done the benefits really as part of the prize bit, if you don't mind me suggesting. This is something you've got to fill people with a sense of. What you're asking them to do. So you're asking them to change their working practices or whatever else it might be. If you don't mind, Tom from Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, the teaching bit perhaps gave the game away. It's belief. We've got to fill them with an unshakable sense of belief that what we are asking them to do can genuinely be done. How do we create a sense of belief in people that what we're asking them to do can be done? How do we do that? Feel free to unmute, by the way, any of you. Feel free to unmute. How do we do it? Julia, you'd started, yeah.
They need to understand the change and the process and what's in it for them and what's in it for their clients.
To a degree, I don't disagree with that. Wasn't quite what I was looking for, but thanks for having a go. Mia says show evidence. Anybody else want to have a go at this? How do we fill people with a sense of belief that what we're asking them to do can be done?
I think we have to inspire them to shake them up a little bit.
Shake them up? Goodness me, Paula. I like the sound of that. I must come and visit you in your workplace one day and attend to this shake-up process. I'm intrigued now. Give worked example, says Maureen. Clear messaging, says Julia. Respect and trust, says Emily. Don't disagree with any of that. There's something specific that I'm going to look for. I'm kind of giving you a bit of a clue at this point in time. What do we need to do?
Listen to them.
Listen to what? Listen to
their
what
ideas.
Particularly?
Their
not
ideas
their
and
ideas,
suggestions.
not their ideas, I don't think. There we are. Mia's got it. We have to ask them, this is what I'm asking you to do. Here's the prize that we get if we do it. And then we say, what are your concerns, anxieties, misgivings, perceived obstacles, challenges that you think might prevent you from being able to achieve that? And at that point, we go into listening mode. And our job then is to go away and fix any of those anxieties, misgivings, challenges, obstacles, whatever it might be, so that actually they realize that A, they've been listened to, but B, somebody has gone away and fixed those misgivings or anxieties. Does that make sense? So until we've done that, there is no way, however persuasive you might be as a salesperson, there's no way that people are just going to embrace this idea and go for it. We have to ask them what they're concerned about, and we have to make sure that we are seen to go away and do something about that. Is that all right with everybody? Any questions at all? You're all getting the hang of this now. So that was belief. What do you think the third one might be then? A final P. So we've done the prize. There we are. This is what we're going to get in terms of benefit. I'm actually helping you to understand that this can be done. I'm helping you to believe in the power of the Power of the positivity here. What's the final thing I need to do? It begins with P, by the way, just in case anybody was still a little bit perplexed. Process. Thank you for having a go at that, Nikita.
Product.
Not quite what I'm looking for. Say again.
Yeah.
Product.
A good try, but not quite what I'm after.
Could I suggest passion, John?
Oh, you're getting close now. Getting close.
Praise.
Participate, persuade. I think Maureen's probably the closest. She's put persuade. If I do this, what am I doing? Other than straining. Thank you, Ibifuro. You've got it right. This is pressure. Okay, this is the final thing we need to apply. We need to apply a little bit of pressure on people to try to persuade some of those innovators and early adopters to go first. Have a go at this and be seen by the not engaged people, or what you might describe as the early or late majority. Persuade them that actually, gosh, some other people have gone first. This is okay. It seems to work. Therefore, I might now consider having a go at it. What you typically find is it's you as the change manager who has to apply that pressure to start with. Again, on those innovators or early adopters first up. And then what do you think might typically happen after that? Let's say 10, 15% of your team have had a go at it. They've realized that it's good. What do you think they might then start to do?
Persuade others to come on board.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, Angela, let's call that peer pressure. Okay, so what you start to see is, while it might start with you with a big kind of leveraging thing to get that ball rolling, once that ball is rolling, other people will come in and they will start to apply peer pressure because they've tried what you've asked and they've realized that it is good and it works. Is that all right? Any questions at all on PBP? I thought we might have a look at some examples, okay? So first up, there you go. Nokia telephone. Guess what? Anybody would like to speculate? Okay. What was Nokia's market capitalization in 2007? It's in billions, and I'll give a prize to anybody who is within 10 billion. You're welcome to put it in the chat. What do you think Nokia's market capitalization was? In other words, how much was Nokia worth in 2007?
15 billion.
15, says Angela. Okay, anybody else? 50, says Violet. Emily says 28. Anybody else? You're all a bit low, believe it or not. Julia, you're close. Helen's gone wild. Paula, I'm gonna give it you based on what I'm currently seeing. It must all be all that shaking up you do over there up in Cheshire. Actually, it's 110 billion is the correct answer. That was Nokia's market capitalization in 2007. Would anybody like to speculate, after the launch of the Apple iPhone in 2007, what do you think Nokia's market capitalization was in 2012, just 5 years later? So 2007, Nokia's market capitalization, 110 billion. What do you think it was 5 years later? Well, gracious me, yeah, it hadn't quite. Do you know what? Maureen seems very good at this. 7, okay. I'm just looking at the chat here while it comes through. It's 14 billion is the correct answer. So they'd lost nearly 90% of their market capitalization value in just 5 years after the birth of the Apple iPhone. So come on, prize, belief, pressure. What was the prize of the Apple iPhone? Why did so many people start buying it at the expense of Nokia, by the way? What was the prize?
The functionality.
Feel free to unmute, by the way, and shout out. Easier to use. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, Claire. What else? Touch screen. Good. Yeah. Anything else?
FaceTime.
I'm not sure FaceTime was part of it then, I'm afraid. No, not in 2007. It came in later. Better tech, a vision. Now we're talking, Paula. Work with music.
It's all about taking up, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
but
what it
if
did.
you think about it, what was the Nokia? The Nokia was quintessentially a phone. Whereas Apple, it was a camera and it was an internet browser. So you got 3 for the price of 1. I mean, you can boil a lot of stuff down, but that was the big prize. I get all this for the price of 1. What was the belief then? What was the belief? Steve Jobs did something incredible at the launch event of this, at the Apple launch. What did he do? I bet none of you would have ever dared do what he did. I'm not sure I would. What did he do?
Did he give a live demonstration?
He
That's
gave
complete
the
guess.
first ever live demonstration of all 3 characteristics. Phone, internet browser, and camera. Gave a live demonstration in front of thousands, in fact, millions watching worldwide, which instantly, for the innovators and early adopters, said to them, go and start queuing outside your Apple store now. You don't want to miss this. And literally, it was just a surge of people. And guess what? As the early and late majority saw it, they all thought, actually, this does work. It will make life simple. I can take great photos and so on. You can see how quickly that bell curve was just shoveled through. And those that were left at the end, the 14% of laggards, or 21% that Gallup described as actively disengaged, well, guess what? They all continue to buy a Nokia, and yeah, good luck to them. Get the idea? Isn't it interesting? What about this then? Here we go. What do you think is going on here? Or not going on here?
Smoking ban in pubs.
Yeah.
Smoking ban. So when did the, I mean, I again, I'm demonstrating my age here, but I used to remember going to the pub as a younger person, and you would come home and all of your clothes and your hair and your skin, it all stank of cigarette smoke. You couldn't go into a pub and avoid the fug, basically, from cigarettes, cigars, pipes even, you know. So come on, all of you, what year was the indoor smoking ban in public places pronounced as law? 2002, 6, 4, 2. Oh, is it Gagandeep or Bowler? Forgive me. Difficult for me to tell based on, is it Bowler? 2007. I'm going to give you the ribbon of achievement there. Thank you very much. It's 2007. Isn't it amazing? We all think it's been around for ages, but actually only 2007. So what? What was the prize? Why was 2007? Theresa May, by the way, brought it in. Why was it such a pivotal moment for us all? What was the prize?
Reduction in lung disease. Sorry, I'm being a bit
lung disease, heart attacks, stroke, all of those things. Absolutely. Huge prize. What else? Well, let me tell you, you didn't need to wash your clothes after going to the pub. Being able to breathe, says Helen, all those things and more. It's this. Suddenly we get a healthier lifestyle. People want to go out. We get things like park runs going on and so on. What did they do to create belief? Well, actually, look at all this stuff. Do you remember these on cigarette? I mean, I can't even remember seeing a cigarette packet in a shop and so on. because they're all behind screens now. But back in those days, 2007, look what they did. The government obliged cigarette manufacturers to put these hideous images all over cigarette packets to create a sense of belief among smokers. This will happen to you if you insist on doing what you currently do. Okay? And then in terms of the pressure, well, you might say that's part pressure as well. But what did the NHS do? Every single region of the NHS had smoking cessation clinics, plastered the local environment and public health with posters, TV campaigns, goodness knows what else, to help people feel you are not on your own. We will support you and you will be given the help and sustenance that you need to be able to do this. Does that make sense? And by the way, if you still weren't convinced from a pressure point of view, well, go and talk to your wife, husband, significant other, children, etc., who will all be saying, why, mummy or daddy, are you still smoking when all these hideous things can happen to you? Get the idea? Just thought it was kind of interesting popping that up for you just to contemplate upon. And just think 2007, how about that? What about this? I thought we might put up this book for you. How many of you have seen this book before or read it? Because this is the only book that I'm going to recommend on change management. Okay, if you did want to have a look at it, it's a lovely book. It's a children's book as well, so it's got pictures of penguins in it. It's all about a penguin colony in Antarctica, where one of the penguins one day, called Prof, he swims under the ice floe where they all live, and he discovers that the ice floe is melting. And he comes back up to the surface, goes to see all of his friends on the colony, and then they persuade him to go and see the committee, the community committee, who kind of run the penguin colony. And you can imagine the kind of naysayers that he runs into, the people that say, gosh, yes, it's the bell curve in existence once again. There's a bit of mild peril involved, but actually, let me tell you, not for very young children, but if you do have children kind of 8, 9, 10, lovely book for them to be able to read themselves. Super duper. Slight spoiler alert, it is written by John Kottler and Holger Rathgeber, and they have an 8-step process to change management. I'm going to take you through each of the 8 steps. You will see, by the way, if you put them alongside the 3 levers that I've already talked to you about, I hope you see 1 or 2 similarities, okay? So the first step, according to John Kottler and Holger Rathgeber, step 1, create a sense of urgency. In other words, don't start off by saying, we are going to change what we do in, I don't know, let's see where we are now, 2025. We're going to start this in 2028. Ring any bells, by the way, those of you involved in social care? Don't start saying we're going to change everything in 2028. Nobody gives a flying fig about 2028. We're all struggling to get through January of 2025 at the moment. Thank you very much. So you've got to create a sense of urgency. We need to do this now. Otherwise, nobody kind of gets excited and all the rest of it. Step number 2. What do you think step number 2 might be all about? I know that is a tug of war. And by the way, the second person in that tug of war, wearing a rather fetching piratey style outfit, is actually me. And I'm the town crier for the town where I live. And that is the town criers tug of war team I'm getting stuck in. And we won the gold medal at the town fair on that particular occasion. But step 2 is really all about create a team. Form a team who understand the urgency and are prepared to work together to figure out what we need to do. Get the idea? All right, let's move along. What do you think the next couple of things might be? Anybody like to speculate? There we go. We've done the first 2. We've got a sense of urgency and we've formed a team. There is a key next stage that we need to do and unify around. Have a go here, folks. What's the next one? It's a biggie. Promote change. Julia, I'm going to give it you. We decide what to do. What do you think that magnificent beach, which is, by the way, that's Southern Down in South Wales, and it is empty. Why is it empty? And if I tell you this was taken in summer 2020, you might figure it out.
Post-COVID?
Lockdown, folks. Lockdown. Nobody's allowed to go out unless you went for a walk, that kind of stuff. Well, I decided I would kind of push the bounds a little bit and went for a very long walk. It was about 16 miles, to be quite honest with you, but I was kind of in that mode, and I took that picture. That was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Ordinarily, that beach would be packed in the summer with people enjoying a picnic or a play or a sandcastle build. Boom. But I'm just kind of using it as a illustration of decide what to do. The government decided we'd do a lockdown. Fine. Did we get everybody behind that? I think we know the answer to that, but I'm not going to dwell on political point scoring at this stage. But that's what we've got to do. Julia was correct. First things first, decide what to do so that that team has a unified sense of purpose. Okay? Number 4 is that we communicate. We create an absolute understanding of what we're trying to do, and we create an environment in which lots of people can choose to buy into what we are proposing. And I love this photograph of this lady. She looks kind of a mixture of self-conscious, anxious, end of her tether. But I love that there seems to be a fierce determination to her as well. I'll do whatever it takes. I just love that, you know. By the way, please don't take down her details and start calling her now. She's probably got inundated with offers since then. But I just love that. But we have to be able to communicate effectively so people who might be part of what we're asking can get involved and choose to buy in. Okay? Anybody like to guess what the next bit might be? So if you think about it, we've created a sense of urgency, we've formed a team, we've created a sense of unity of purpose, we know what we're trying to do, we've created a communication process so people can choose to buy in. By the way, that's typically, remember, your innovators and early adopters. What's the next thing we do? This is a critical step, next stage. You've got to give permission to it. Go on, Chris, have a go.
Is it something to do, I'm just trying to think what you said earlier, if you have listened about perceived obstacles or misgivings, you need to somehow what's I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say,
far away.
You know, in terms of those perceived misgivings or any obstacles, you've got to demonstrate that you've listened and you've dealt with them. I'm not used to.
No, that's perfectly good. It wasn't quite what I was looking for, but it's part of what I was looking for. So we've got more. It says promote the change. Violet says training. It's rather more fundamental than all of that, if you don't mind me saying. I think it's this. Okay, it's empowering people who are part of your team or who've decided to buy in based on your communication. It's empowering other people to act. Okay, so what you often find in teams, if you've talked about a change in process or pathway or subject matter, what you tend to find is people wait ages to be given permission to actually either contribute their own ideas or to go away and start to do what you're asking to do. People will wait. One of the big secrets we've got to do is to move it on, is to empower people in your team to actually get cracking with it. And you can see that, well, come on, why have I put up the picture of the rhino? By the way, if anybody wants to know for future reference, it's my favourite animal. But I just thought I'd share that with you for no obvious reason. By the way, don't start all writing in the chat, oh, my favourite animal is. This isn't a competition. I'm just saying, so just a fact, the favourite animal is the rhino. Why have I put this up? And it's a big old beast, the rhino. And it's got rhino hide. It's kind of king or queen of all its surveys. Why do you think I choose to put a picture of a rhinoceros? Who is it empowering to act? Oh, somebody's got to have been watching Attenborough at some stage. I don't think this is quite ready for winter watch. I don't think we've got rhinos down in Dorset, but come on, what's the rhino? Who is the rhino empowering to act from that photo? Oxpeckers. Thank you, John. Nice to see you as well, John. I appreciate you got to go. It's the oxpecker birds on its back. So the rhino tolerates and encourages them to get into the folds between its rhino hide and pick out the insects and parasites that can otherwise injure it, create infection and so on. The rhino actively empowers them to go about their business to help it. Isn't that lovely? All of us need a few oxpeckers in our lives, you know, all of us. All right, that's step number 5. Step number 6. I love this. Produce some short-term wins. Why? Why is it important that we have short-term wins in our change management project?
Because it shows what you're doing is working, and it
shows what you're working. It's going back
board.
to Chris's point. You're reinforcing this belief. It's helping people feel a sense of, gosh, really, we can do this, you know? This is working. We're having some demonstrably positive effects and results. This is a good thing. We should keep doing it. The mayfly, why would I put the mayfly up there? You know, the mayfly only lives for about 24, maximum 36 hours. Do you know what it's got to do? Do you know all it's got to do in that 24 hours? All it's got to do is mate. That's it. Its whole kind of process of evolution up to that point has been simply to prepare it to go off and mate. How brilliant. Isn't the mayfly just fantastic? Can you imagine? That's all you'd be. And once you've mated, that's it. They just cascade from the skies onto rivers where they get eaten by greedy trout and so on. And that's it. But isn't it lovely? Their short-term win is just, I've found the one of my dreams. Quick kind of mating ritual, quick kind of, you know, get on with it. And then that's it. Done. Isn't that? And all the other mayflies are all swarming out. And they're all looking, thinking, oh, Trevor or Janet or whatever, they've got on with it. I will too. Isn't that just lovely? Next time you see a mayfly, just rejoice in its absolute sense of purpose. They're the most fabulous things. All right, that's step 6. Step number 8. Sorry, step number 7 on the 8-step process. Don't let up. So what have Apple done since the launch of the iPhone? Well, they've had the iPads and so on. Most recently, they've had the iWatches, etc. They don't let up. They keep the innovation going. They maintain that reputation for being at the cutting edge of technology and thinking the unthinkable. If you go back to 2000, when Nokia was in its prime and so on, can you imagine? Or can you imagine anybody thinking one day Apple will be making watches and telephones? It was just, or cameras. It would have been unheard of. They were computer manufacturers. That's all. Isn't it extraordinary what they've become? Anyway, I just thought I'd kind of finish off with the final thing, make it stick. So if you're going to do it, you've now got to reinforce everything that you've done, provide evidence of it, continue to encourage your people to practice what you've persuaded, and who knows, even those late majority and laggards, they may finally think, do you know what? I'm in. Do you know when my wife, the fragrant, beautiful Mrs. Wilks, first bought a smartphone? 2015. Bless her. Isn't that just delightful? Now, of course, she can't still work most of it, but, you know, isn't it lovely? I just think that's delightful. Anyway, make it stick is the big message. Of course, sword of Excalibur there. So I'm going to say to you, all right, you get all of that, all of you. But what happens if we've still got a problem? Okay, so this is, I'm going to try this. If this doesn't work, then so be it. But I'm going to have a bash. I have enabled video sound to come through. So please turn up your volumes as high as you like. this is, if all else fails, this is Al Pacino's speech to a team of underperforming American footballers.
This is great.
Underperforming American footballers who he's got a real problem with. I'm going to try to help you with Al Pacino's speech from Any Given Sunday. I'm praying that this works.
I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes to the biggest battle of our professional lives. All comes down to today. Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. Now, I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I look around, I see these young faces, and I think, I mean, I made every wrong choice a middle-aged man can make. I pissed away all my money, believe it or not. I chased off anyone who's ever loved me. And lately, I can't even stand the face I see in the mirror. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's gonna win that inch. And I know if I'm gonna have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face. Now I can't make you do it. You gotta look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now I think you're gonna see a guy who will go that inch with you. Hell yeah. You're gonna see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're gonna do the same for him. That's the team, gentlemen. Hell yeah. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals. That's football, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you gonna do?
Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Did the sound come through okay for everybody? I hope so. And I appreciate that sport. I get that completely. But I don't think it's far away from the environment in which we work in health and social care. I think that ability to look into the faces of the people that we work with when we're all under the most appalling pressure and difficulties and we're short of money and all the rest of it, to be able to look into each other's faces and connect and figure out what we need to do to change, to improve things and so on, and to help each other, to support each other to get through it. I think that's still a vitally important aspect of what we're about. So that's kind of it in terms of my change management little program. I hope you've enjoyed that. There's a variety of things that we've been through. You've all got your own lists of things that you think you might be involved in changing. We've taken you through some of the engaged, not engaged, actively disengaged, the bell curve of how we might go about change. And we've talked about, don't try to go after everybody at the beginning. Pick time, take time to kind of pick off those innovators and early adopters as your first cohort and go from there using that 3 levers model of prize, belief and pressure. We've taken you through John Kottler and Holger Rathgeber's model based on the book Our Iceberg is Melting. And then we finished up with Al Pacino's speech. I bet none of you thought you were going to be subjected to that first thing in the morning. And I appreciate, by the way, it's very male centric, that final film. I think one day we might get something similar created by everybody who participates in this wonderful activity of health and social care and create a kind of 2 or 3 minute show reel that just kind of unites us all in a collective celebration and acknowledgement of the good that we all do. Maybe that's worth giving some thought to. Chris, you've got your hand up. Allow me to go to you quickly.
Yeah, thank you, John. I mean, I've seen that video before. I mean, you're right, very testosterone. You literally can feel it coming through the screen. But I just wanted to build on what you said. I'm at a different stage of my life and career. I chair a mental health charity. We provide accommodation as well, which is quite unique. But what I noticed, the character played talked about authenticity and empathy. I haven't got everything right in my career, and the older and wiser I've noticed that counts. And I just thought I'd highlight something I saw on the One Show last night, actually, about Jake Humphrey. He's produced a book called High Performance: Lessons from the Best on Becoming Your Best, and a high performance podcast, which isn't about up here. It is actually, let's be clear, in health and social care, it's a demanding, unforgiving environment. It's relentless. But what he talked about is the need for empathy. And I would recommend that as we reflect ourselves. We're all here, as John said at the top of the talk, about the curiosity in the topic, but also about how we practice as leaders and managers. And even in that video, you saw the main character talking about his own failings and mistakes. Right up to date, the Jake Humphrey podcast. I would commend both his new book, Lessons from the Best on Becoming Your Best, and his High Performance podcast. Thank you, John. I've learned a lot.
Thank you, Chris. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Paula, what a lovely thing to say. I admire that. Thank you very much. I will take that with me. For those of you who might be interested, you might want to contact me. I'm more than happy for you to do so. You can drop me a note. That's my email address right behind me. You'd be very welcome if you'd like to make contact with me. And Jade has popped that up as well. And Angela, yeah, you can use that all over the Welsh Ambulance Service this afternoon. I bet it feels rather like that, to be quite honest, knowing a bit about what you do and where you are. So thank you for that. I'm grateful to you all for coming in. And look at that, bang on, 1 o'clock. I tell you what, precision in everything, folks. There you go. Have a super rest of the week. Thanks for all of the great work that you're all doing in health and social care. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, John. Thank you.